What up? What up? Welcome back to the Scorecard, the boxing scorecard, where I ask people to bring their scorecard and an explanation, not just simply your opinion. We had an IBO World Lightweight Championship bout last night, Saturday night. George Kambosos versus Maxi Hughes. George Kambosos coming in with a record of 21 wins with only 10 knockouts, 2 losses coming to Devin Haney, the undisputed champ at light heavyweight. He went up against not an unknown in Europe, but he's unknown over here in North America, Mr. Maxi Hughes from Australia. Very good fighter, 26 wins, only 5 knockouts, so definitely not a power play, more relies on his boxing skills. Anyways, I thought it was very important for me to do a scorecard on this fight because I didn't get a chance to watch the fight live. I just watched it this morning and scored it. But it seemed like everyone was going crazy about the scorecards. So, of course, I had to with my scorecard. So the official scorecard for this bout was 117 to 111, 115 to 113, and one judge had it a 111. 117 to 111 was my scorecard, and I really don't see any controversy behind that at all. So I'm very curious to know, anyone, if you're listening to this right now, even if you're not watching it live, please put your scorecard in the comment section, and I'll definitely reply to that. I'm going to go through each round. You can tell me which round you felt, I had wrong, or how you felt different from it, because I'm very curious to see how people had Maxi Hughes winning this fight. Only the first couple of rounds, let me just go through the scorecard. So the first 2 rounds they gave to George Kambosos. He was just simply, I marked it as a close round. Actually, I marked the first 7 rounds. As close rounds. George Kambosos, he was being busier, not really landing that much, but he was just being busier and starting the action over Maxi Hughes. Second round, George Kambosos was being what I like to call fake busy. Like, he wasn't really throwing combinations, but he was being very jittery and like extending his arm out there, extending his jab arm out there as if he was gonna throw it powerfully, but just touching. Usually when people hold their jab out there to kind of play with it, they'll do a couple of touch jabs and then throw one hard one in there to mix it up. But there was rarely any hard ones in there. It was just pop, and making it look like he was going to be busy, but not really being busy. But at the same time, in that first 2 rounds, Max wasn't really doing nothing to take advantage of that. Rounds 3 and 4, I actually gave to Maxi Hughes. Rounds 3, my specific notes was Maxi was landing more single punches. He never really threw any combinations throughout the fight, but the single punches that he was landing, even though there were few in the third round, third round, we're talking about right now, he was landing more of them, while Kambosos was doing the fake offense. A lot of jittery stuff, but not any substance behind it. Round 4 also gave to Maxi Hughes. The exact same notes. Max wasn't throwing any combinations, the single punches, but they were landing more at a higher frequency than George Kambosos. Round 5 for both guys. My notes for round 5 was that the offense for both guys was the same, but Maxi Hughes' defense was a lot better as far as making George miss, not just blocking, but making him miss completely. That was a lot more apparent in that 5th round. So that was what made the difference for me. It wasn't the offense. Both guys' offense was pretty even. But Maxi Hughes' defensive skills were pretty apparent in that 5th round. Round 6 and 7, I gave to George Kambosos. Round 6, my notes for round 6. Kambosos' offense was slightly better. This whole fight was close. There wasn't one dominating round. There was a few rounds later on that I'll get to that I believe George won, but there was not one dominating round from either fighter in this whole fight. So round 6, Kambosos' offense was just slightly better than Maxi Hughes. Didn't look like he landed. Yeah, Maxi, he didn't look like he landed more. You know, he wasn't really pressing the action. Not that you have to press the action to win, but if you're gonna have a low output, like, you gotta throw. It's okay. Not that it's okay to have a low output, but your accuracy better be high. You need to throw a little bit more, especially if your opponent is throwing a lot more than you are, even though they're not landing. To the judges, you never know what the judges are seeing. So, yeah, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. Round 7 also marked it as a close round. Gave it to Kambosos again. Kambosos was simply controlling the action. Like, Maxi Hughes had plenty of opportunities to come forward and start it, but he was waiting the whole time to counter, never starting. Sometimes you have to throw in order to get the other person to throw. Maxi Hughes was not throwing. He was simply waiting for George to throw and then trying to counter off of that. You know, he would randomly throw a jab or a cross here, but nothing. I don't think he threw anything that showed that he was trying to start the action that would have been worth giving him the round. And for the rest of the rounds I gave to from 8 to 12. Like, I'm very curious to see what other people's scorecards was, because a lot of people, from the other boxing podcasts I listen to, even though Talkin Fight YouTube channel has the best boxing podcast, sometimes I listen to other channels, and everyone was complaining about the scorecards. So again, that's why I felt I had to make sure to watch the replay of this fight and score myself. But I don't see any controversy at all. You know, round 8, Maxi Hughes was not doing enough to make a name for himself. Coming into this fight, the whole boxing world knew who George Kambosos is. He beat Teofimo Lopez to get to become the undisputed champion at light heavyweight. And then he had 2 losses to Devin Haney. So the world knows who he is. He's been on the high stage before against some of the top guys. But nobody really knew who Maxi Hughes was. He's one of those people that you call a live dog, because he's very good but not well known. With that being said, coming over to North America to make a name for yourself, you got to make a name for yourself, which means you can't just chill and be the counterpuncher against someone that everyone knows what they do. Maxi Hughes had an opportunity to make a name for himself by taking out George Kambosos. Maybe not necessarily knocking him out, but trying to win some rounds. If you're the challenger, you know the stacks are against you. You can't just chill and be the counterpuncher throwing one punch at a time. That's what Max was doing. Round 9, again, Kambosos is starting all the action. Max is throwing one punch and retreating. Round 10. My notes for round 10 was that this fight was getting vibes of a sparring match. Vibes of a sparring match where the two guys are not really trying to hurt each other. They're working, but they're not trying to hurt each other, so there's not much action going on. And the action that is going on is not much to be cheering about. Not that you cheer in sparring, but you know what I mean. A boring, slow fight. Round 11, Maxi Hughes was fighting like he was worried about Kambosos' power, which I don't understand, because going back to BoxRec, George Kambosos, what's George Kambosos' record? I mean, Maxi Hughes himself is not a knockout artist. He only has 5 knockouts in his 26 fights. But also George Kambosos only has 10 knockouts in his 21 fights. So it's not like he's known for his power punching. So I didn't really understand why Maxi Hughes would fight in this way. He kept his hands up good. I like the way he kept his hands up. His defense was good, but the offense was not where it should have been to win this fight. Can we slide through the picks, please? Yeah. So yeah, round 12, Max. Yeah, my notes for round 12 was Maxi is fighting like he's sparring someone that's better than him, and he's just in there to get the experience. There was no sense of urgency. Like, again, I tell people all the time, I tell my boxers, if you're in a close fight and the decision does not go your way, that is not a robbery. That is not a robbery if it was a close fight, but the decision did not go your way. The definition of a close round is that it could have went either way. A close fight, it could have went either way. A close round, it could have went either way. It just so happened that you were on the short end of that of the judging of that, right? Again, I said this earlier. There was no clear dominant round for either fighter. Which rounds did I give to Maxi Hughes? I gave him a couple of the early rounds, rounds 3, 4, and 5. I guess that was it, and even those rounds were close. So again, I do not see any controversy with this fight. Um, Maxi Hughes looked good, but not good enough to win against George Kambosos. Um, so yeah, there you have it. What is next for both guys coming up here at 135? George Kambosos, he came up short twice against the undisputed champion Devin Haney. So he's not going to get that shot again. He's going to have to work his way up the ladder, and that ladder is a steep ladder, boy. You got Frank Martin, you got Shakur Stevenson, you got Ryan Garcia, you got Isaac Cruz, you got Tank Davis, Lomachenko. Wow, there is a murderer's row at 135 pounds. Not to mention other guys that aren't well named but are still good fighters, in Jermaine Ortiz, the Japanese guy Yoshino. Yeah, there is no these guys in the top 10 at 135. There's no easy fights there. So George, he in order for him to still maintain a contender, like, he's gonna have to get through sharks just to get to the bigger sharks. So yeah, Kambosos got an uphill battle, a big uphill battle to get back to that title, to a title shot. Mr. Maxi Hughes, not sure where he goes from here. He should have another shot at someone in the top 10, someone from like 6 to 10. Because right now he's ranked number 8 or 9 on most people's top 10 list in that division. So it's gonna be interesting to see where he goes from here. But Maxi, you got to turn up your offense. Your defense is good. You know me, I'm the defensive coach. Usually I'll say something about I'll have something to say about a boxer's defense, um, as to the reason why they lost or won. In this case here, it was Maxi's offense. His defense was actually on point. He did get a little bit of a cut over his eye from a headbutt. They did the butt heads, southpaw versus orthodox. It happens sometimes. But yeah, so keep that defense tight. Just work on the offense, which is the fun part of boxing. That's the fun part of boxing. Working on the offense. The defense is always working on beating someone up is fun. Avoiding getting effed up, not so much fun to work on. So yeah, there you have it. Quick advice for both guys. George Kambosos, and this is a drill that you can work on. Anybody can work on in the gym. Mixing up your tempo of the speed of the punches that you're throwing. Sometimes you can throw pop, pop, pop. Sometimes it has to be boom, boom, boom. Right? You can't just be in one speed, just like a baseball pitch. You can't just throw one speed the whole time. You got to mix it up. Throw some change-ups in there, some curveballs. Kambosos was just throwing at one speed the whole time, and it wasn't even landing. A lot of them were like I said, the fake offense, where he was making it look like he was going to do something, but really just throwing pop, pop, pop punches. So mix up the tempo between the power and the speed. And Maxi Hughes, just offense in general, man. That's, like I said before, offense is fun to work on, so that should be easy. How old is Max? Does he still have time to improve? Maxi Hughes, 33 years old, Same age as Carter Spence, so he's right in his man strength prime. So you don't have to work on your man strength. Just work on this on the volume of the punches you throw. All right, there you have it. There you have it. If you're watching the show live, stay tuned. I'll be back in a couple of minutes for my official prediction show for Earl Spence Jr. and Terrence Bud Crawford. Only on the #1 boxing YouTube channel out there on the web, Talkin Fight YouTube channel. As I say this every week, the best thing about Talkin Fight YouTube channel is not just the one show that we offer. It's the different variety of shows from history shows to women's boxing shows to updated news. So yeah, man, shout out to Talkin Fight, everyone that's putting it together. And yeah, you can hit me up on any social media at Cedric Sports. Also my YouTube channel, Cedric Sports Training. All right. See you in a couple of minutes. Peace.